Alright, Harmony Science Academy, we're going to be looking at the smart sheet we're using for the Staar review. Okay, let's see here. Alright, so let's go and get into it. This might take a while explaining, but a lot easier for you guys just to copy, okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. Multiply decimals. Okay, the first four we've already know backwards and forward, okay? So we're good there. Let's just do a quick setup. Okay, so multiplying decimals. You guys are just gonna ignore the decimal. Okay. And once you've taken care of that, okay, we go back and we count the bunny hops, right? 1, 2, and 3. So we take this decimal and hop 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, which equals 0.682. Okay. All right, let's jump to the next one. All right, and you guys got to be comfortable with percent, decimals, and fractions. Okay, so let's come up with 10.5%. Okay. Now we want to turn it into a decimal how? Simply by moving 2 bunny hops to the left. 1, 2. Okay. By now it's super easy for you guys. And we talked about the value in reading this two ways, right? 0.105 or 105 thousandths. Okay. Which is real valuable. A lot of you guys, I think, like it because 105 thousandths, okay, is really a fraction simply by reading it. And how do we get 100 in the denominator? Okay, right? Since we're dealing with percents, we want percent, right? Porcien. So we go over here and we do a bunny hop. Okay. So I have to do the same thing up here and bunny hop. So I get 10.5% or 10.5%. Okay. All right. Let's go to this next one. All right, soft percent. Okay. This one's really short but very valuable. Okay. Now the important thing here is the word of, okay? If you read carefully, sometimes the word of will actually mean multiplication. Okay? Like in this case. Not always. So you have to read carefully, okay? You guys know it's hard to do math with percent, so you turn them into decimals, okay? Or maybe even a fraction, okay? So how do I do that? 2 bunny hops to the left, okay? Alright, now since that one's so short, we're going to divide this one and we're going to add, we'll call it money, okay? So yesterday we saw about debit cards and credit cards, so we'll include it on this one, okay? Debit card and credit card. Okay. So we talked about it. All you need to know is, remember, is that this is my money. Okay? You can do whatever you want with it. No one's going to charge you anything for it. Okay, you can take it out of an ATM. This one is borrow. Okay? They might charge you interest here. You can take out money, but it's not yours. Okay, you have to pay it back. And, right, before you get a credit card, the companies run a credit report to find out, hey, should we let this person money or not? Okay? All right. Multiply integers. All right. Now you guys know this really, really good, but having notes just protects you. Okay? All right. Let's see here. So we've upgraded the Dorito, right? Plus, minus, minus. We've included a multiplication and a division. Okay? So, we basically go in a circle like that, and we can check everything, all multiplication, right? Negative times a positive is negative. Positive times a negative is negative. And negative times a negative is positive. So we can do the same thing with division. Negative divided by a positive is negative. Positive divided by a negative is negative. And negative divided by a negative is positive. Okay? So let's go ahead and list those now that I've already covered the Dorito. Okay? So we've got, right? That one's the easy one. You guys know that one. You don't need the Dorito. Then it's okay. So those are those. We can go and throw in some numbers here. All right. The symbols, okay, are really just the signs and actual numbers to help some of us out a little better. And then here, again, because you know so much, give yourself credit, okay? Write it so you can actually use it. So, all right. Now this part's a little tricky just because you have to think as you're writing, not just copying, okay? So here we're going to go like this. We'll say 6 divided by 3 is 2. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Positive 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2, and we'll do it that way, okay? Alright, so next up is the new 4 squares, okay? Notice how it's a lot of information, but you guys know all of it, okay? And the little that you need, that's where the notes come in, okay? Alright, so let's cover the math. Okay. And in this case, I might actually have to flip the paper this way. Okay. You'll see why in a bit. So let's go. Math. And we'll divide it in half. Okay. Like we talked about, or at least some of the classes. Simplify and solve. Okay. We've updated the PEMDAS, right? So we're going to begin with working from left to right. Okay. Multiplication, division. You do them at the same time. What does that mean? It just means since they're tied, the first one that comes in left to right is the one you do. Same thing with addition and subtraction. Okay. We notice it does matter. Sometimes it looks like it doesn't, but it does. Okay. And solve. Okay. Opposite operation. Okay. So alright, so we have this situation. Okay. Now we talked about it recently, so let's put it in here. You need to identify the left side and the right side of the equation, or it could even be this symbol. Right? One of these inequalities. Okay, it doesn't matter which one. All of them you do the same thing. You say, hey, here's the center. So this is the left. And this is the right. Okay? Why? Because what you do to one side, you do to the other. Right? Kind of like with fractions. What you do to the top, you do to the bottom. So what is the opposite operation? Most of you guys see the 8, and some of you guys say, oh, the opposite of 8 is negative 8. So you subtract it. Careful. You need the operation. Okay? So what is happening with the 8 and the variable? It's being multiplied. So you have to be careful. You have to find the operation. Okay? So multiply by 8, the opposite is divide by 8. Okay? Why do we do opposite operations? Because they cancel. Okay? As long as it's the same value. So all we're left with is x. This is 6. Okay? And solve, like you guys know, means get the variable by itself. Okay? Alright. Let's go to the next one. Let's cover area. Okay? Alright. So we're going to have 3 things to keep in mind. Again, it looks like a writing, you guys got this. And this one, you have it. It's just a little reminder. Check this out. Okay? Where are we? We have area of a triangle equals half base times height. Okay? This is, you don't have to remember that. That's in the formula sheet. Okay? Alright, so again, area of a triangle, it's in the formula sheet. Okay? You don't have to remember it. Here's something important. Okay? So if they give you a simple triangle, right, and the base is left to right, you're good. If the height is straight up and down, you're good. Okay, or the distance straight up and down. But a lot of times we know they don't make it the easiest possible, so you might get something a little different like this. Okay? So, very important, pay attention. Okay? In this case, you don't have the distance going straight up and down, so you don't have a height, even if they give you this number. Okay? So it's going to be important for you is to identify, okay, a straight line that goes to the highest point. Okay, what that's going to do for you is going to tell you that that line came from the base, and that line straight from the base to the highest point would be your height. Okay, so the main thing is just to understand that it's not always the number given if it's not perfectly left to right, up and down. Okay, just something to think about. Okay. Then we have area. It could be of a square, of a rectangle, or a parallelogram. Okay? Alright. It's in the formula sheet. Okay, base times height. No big deal there. Pretty easy stuff. Okay? So if they're nice, they'll go left to right, up and down. You'll be good. Okay, but a lot of times they're not super nice. So they might give you something like this. Okay? Alright, so since I've got my left to right, I'll go base. But what you guys gotta investigate, and it shouldn't be hard, as long as you're aware, is that the height should go straight up and down. So if it doesn't, be on the lookout. Okay? So, right. Really, the set of notes is for you guys to look for this. Don't go. Make sure that if it's not a simple figure like this, just be on the lookout for that. Okay? The formula is easy. You guys can multiply, but you have to be on the lookout for that. Okay? And the last thing to mention here, okay, is something that you guys know, but you want to be aware that you actually know this is if you have a rectangle or even a square, okay, and you chop it down the middle just like that, you get two triangles. Okay. So use that to your advantage, right? If for some reason you're stuck with the rectangle or the square or the parallelogram, you can use what you know about triangles, okay? So, same thing with a parallelogram like this. Okay? You do that. I didn't draw it perfectly, but you do have equal triangles. This one's the same and this one's the same. This one's the same and this one's the same. I drew it kind of ugly, sorry, okay? And you also have two triangles. Okay? Alright. So it looks like a lot of information, but it's in your head, so you guys are good. Alright, what do we do next? Let's go ahead and do proportions. And this one I'm going to flip it back up this way. Oops. Okay. Put it right there. Why? Because this is that list of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and you guys can remember this very easily because most of it, again, you know this. Okay. But everything is related here to proportions. That's a cool thing, okay? So we got ratio, right? Two numbers being compared. We have that, A colon B, two numbers being compared. A to B, two numbers being compared, okay? A rate is also the comparison of two numbers being compared, okay? But when you're given this, we don't really do math with these things, okay? They're math concepts, but we turn them into fractions normally, okay? Because we can do math with fractions. So we would have A over B, okay? Why? Because here you can maybe find equivalent fractions, or maybe you can simply take the top dog, put them in the house, and divide, okay? So these are the three we will focus on. You want to turn all this information to this, okay? All right, and let's go to the last one. Okay. This next, we'll turn the paper this way. Okay. So you're going to deal with a lot of problems, okay, that talk about equivalent, which pretty much just means equal, okay? So let's look at three scenarios of that can guide you, okay? So let's look at this scenario, okay? If you have some fraction, some ratio, or rates, something like this, right? You might be asked, right? Let's turn this into a 1, just for the heck of it. Maybe they want a unit rate, right? Maybe, right? They want a 1 on the bottom. So the question is, how do you turn that 9 into 1? You would divide by 9, okay? And you would divide the top by 9, okay? So if it's a 3, okay, for some reason the problem wants to know, let's go to what we did in class, right? Boys and girls, okay? So now, in this scenario, we've got 15 boys, 9 girls, and now they want to say, hey, people left the party, now the ratios change, there's only 3 girls. How many boys? Well, you would take 9 and divide by 3 to get 3. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And you would get a 5 on top. And your answer would be like, there's 5 boys. Or, if they say how many kids are now at the party or something, right? 5 boys, 3 girls, you would say 8. Okay? Now, what happens if they change it up on us and they say, now we have, let's say, 18 girls. Okay? How many boys or something, right? 9 times 2 gives us the 18. You do the same to the top. Okay? If the number of girls change but you still have the same rate, there's 30 boys. Or the kids would be this plus this, which would be 48. Okay? Alright. The other thing that we did in class that it's nice to remember is, let's say you start off with some a rate, a ratio, okay, an expression like this, 5 divided by 3. Well, here's something real cool that you guys can do is, if you want to be super careful, okay, you can multiply times 1, top and bottom, and you get 5/3. Okay, seems silly, but watch. Again, if for some reason you're lost, but you still want to work, You can multiply top and bottom by 2 and get 10 6. Right? If that's not getting the answer, but you want to be very careful, you can multiply by 3, get 15 9s. Okay? All skills that you guys have that you want to be aware of. Okay? So there's that. And finally, okay, equivalent expressions. This happens a lot. So we have to talk about it. So I'll give you an example. Here we go. So 6 over 2. Okay. Equals. Okay, I picked this one out because I think it's actually a pretty cool one to know. Okay. Plus I saw it on an actual STAR test. So here, they might ask you, hey, this is equivalent to, and they might list 4 options. The one of them, because there's always, equivalent means, as long as they're the same, they're equivalent, okay? So after you do the math, if they equal each other, they're equivalent, okay? So technically, you would do the top first, and then divide, okay? So that's correct. An incorrect option would be, okay, that is not equal, would be 12 minus 6 divided by 2. Okay? So you have to be careful with that. Let's do the math real quick. Okay, here's another tip. You guys can actually do the math. Okay? 12 minus 6 is 6 divided by 2 is 3. This is 6 divided by 2 is 3. So they're equal. Here, PEMDAS would tell you to do this first, right? So you'd have 12 minus 3, which would be 9. Okay, so there's different ways to check it. So we definitely want to talk about equivalent. Alright guys, appreciate your time. We'll catch you in class.